When you apply to study after matric, so you've achieved your matric certificate, you want to apply to study, you will often find that the place where you apply to study wants to know what your APS score is. So what is an APS score? APS score stands for admission point score. So APS, you're going to hear people talk about APS, it means admission points score. How do you calculate your admission point score? You calculate it by taking each of your subjects, and then that subject is converted to a mark out of 10, and then they add it up together to give you a final APS score. Okay, so you want to calculate the APS score. How do you do it? You're going to have your matric results. If you have your matric results, you're going to take your top 7 best subjects. If you have more than 7, you're going to turn each of those subjects into a score out of 10. The result, you're going to turn the marks of each subject into a score out of 10. You're going to add up 7 of them, not more than 7. It's going to give you a final score. There's also online APS score calculators. I'll put a link in below the video where you can actually go to a website, fill in your subjects and your percentages that you achieved, and it will calculate your APS score for you. So how does a university or a college use your APS score? They're going to look at your APS score and they're going to say, listen, for a specific program of study, you need an APS score of at least a certain number. So they might say, if you want to become a medical doctor, for example, you need an APS score of 25. If you want to become a journalist, you must have an APS score of 18, that kind of thing. Note that each university can set its own rules. Universities are very powerful in that sense. They make their own rules. So one university might say to study marketing you need an APS score of 18, another university might say to study marketing you need an APS score of 17. So even if your APS score isn't good enough for a specific university for the specific thing you want to study, obviously go and look at the entry requirements of other universities, of other colleges, because it might be that you're excluded from one university but you're actually are doing well enough for a different university or college. Yeah, I guess also, this conversation around APS score, it kind of underlines that you need to pick the right subjects, and you need to do as well as you possibly can in each of those subjects, because those results are going to be incredibly important when you apply for studies after matric. If you're thinking of university studies, about 1 in 10 people who apply to university actually gets in, because we don't have that many university seats. So obviously the person with the better results has got a much better chance to actually get into university. Finally, let me talk briefly about what can I study depending on my level of achievement in my matric. So if you have a bachelor's pass, obviously you can study towards a degree, but you're not going to be able to study towards any degree. Each degree still has its own requirements. So for instance, if you want to study to become an architect, you must pass maths at matric level, or you must have an A or a B for maths. If you have mathematical literacy, you're kind of excluding yourself, let's say, from architecture. In actual fact, if you do mathematical literacy at matric level instead of maths, then you probably excluded from about 80% of degrees. Because the majority of degrees, when you look at the entry requirements require that you pass maths in matric, not mathematical literacy. Cool, but with your bachelor's pass, you can study towards a degree. You need to look at what university, you need to consider what degree, and then go and look specifically at that specific university's requirements for that specific degree to see whether your bachelor's pass will get you into that specific degree. So a bachelor's pass isn't a free pass into any degree. It really depends on your subjects choices, and it depends on your actual results. If you pass with a diploma pass, you can study any post-matric diploma program. The ones I'm very familiar with are the Institute of Certified Bookkeeper National Diplomas, the NATED National Diplomas. Basically, these are Technikon level diploma programs. Often they are 6 months study and then 6 months practical, 6 months study, 6 months practical. So your national diplomas are often much more career-orientated, job-orientated. They include much more practical work than a degree. Academically, a diploma sits about one level below a degree. And certainly, most jobs, if you're applying for a job in marketing, your marketing diploma will also get you the interview, the same as your marketing degree. There's very few jobs where only a degree gets you the interview. Whether you have a degree in a certain direction or a diploma, both should get you into an interview. Okay, if you have a higher certificate pass, same thing, you can study for any higher certificate program, any post-school accredited certificate. Once again, there are many of them in the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. We have a range of them in our NATEC programs. You can do your N4, N5, N6 certificates in marketing, in HR, in legal secretary, in educare. There's a wide range of kind of, shall I say, college level programs available. Cool, you pass, but you barely pass, you only have a pass, you don't even have a certificate pass. What can you study? There's still a lot of post-matric short courses you can study, unaccredited programs you can study. Certainly, if you pass matric, there are many options to study. The doors are not closed to you. Yeah, what I think is worth saying is if you pass matric but you barely passed it, I'll go back to the Institute of Certified Bookkeeper programs. There's programs there that if you've passed grade 11, you can enter into the program. You start at a slightly lower level, but it's going to take you up to matric level. It's going to take you past matric level with certificates. So you just find yourself a program where what you've already achieved at school gets you into that program, and then step by step you still build yourself up to matric level and even to post-matric level. So certainly look at your Institute of Certified Bookkeeper bookkeeping programs, accounting programs. They've got office administration. These are all scarce skills. So certainly if I had a matric pass, I'd be looking at those programs because I know they are work orientated. I know there's a demand for people who have qualifications in bookkeeping and qualifications in office administration. Thank you.